Tonight on Q2, on the ballot.
In reality, it's not some kind of argument, oh, I just support this. It's really right.
A new choice gaining popularity when voting for president in this year's election. Plus, from trash to treasure.
This is a shower curtain that I painted using water-soluble glue. So think Elmer's glue or Mod Podge.
How this unique fashion statement is catching on here in Montana and beyond. And a first of its kind.
I feel like I want to personalize healthcare again.
A new care unit in Billings looking to change the future of heart health. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. The countdown to Election Day is on, with the primary now less than a week away. Only two names are appearing on Montana's presidential primary ballots this year: President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. But voters do have another option, that being a no preference vote, a choice that seems to be growing in popularity. Tonight, Arlena Howder looks into the reasons why.
Joe Biden and Donald Trump may be the obvious candidates running for president, but there's another option that's gaining traction here in Montana, one that voters hope will send a message come November.
This is how 18-year-old MSU Billings elementary education major Amanda Lazelle spends her weekends.
Biden, you can't hide!
Protesting for what she believes in at the Yellowstone County Courthouse.
When I started learning about the Israel-Hamas argument going on, I knew that I had to do something, especially when it went from a war to a genocide.
That international conflict has made a big impact on the first-time voters' decision when it comes to the primary election.
I am a Democrat, so I am registered under the Democratic Party. But with everything going on, I really cannot vote for somebody who supports this genocide.
Amanda is just one of a growing number of people who are now using their vote as a form of protest by voting no preference.
It's like, I don't like being restricted to just these two parties or maybe even three parties, as well as looking at the individual candidates themselves, saying neither of these people appear meritorious or appropriate for this office.
MSU Billings political science professor Paul Pope says no preference voting has been an option for decades in Montana, but argues that today's political climate is unique.
In fact, our political division at this point within society is about equal to what it was leading into the Civil War.
And that's led to what we're seeing now, not only in Montana, but across the nation, with no preference votes surpassing expectations in most primaries so far. Almost half of all states have it as an option.
From what I looked, it's usually ranges from about 5% to about 18 to 20% or so.
Back in 2020, roughly 6% of Montana Republicans voted no preference compared to the almost 3% of Democrats.
Since 2016, it's definitely switched to more negative impact on Republicans, but we don't know how it's going to really turn out.
Though Pope is unsure how the primaries will roll out, Amanda hopes the message will resonate.
Our voices do matter. Regardless of what people say, our voices truly do matter.
In Billings, Alina Howder, MTN News.
Well, jurors in the so-called hush money trial of former President Donald Trump spent their first day deliberating. They finished with no verdict, and they'll be back again tomorrow. As Michael George explains, the jury is already sending notes to the judge.
Former President Donald Trump offered some parting thoughts outside the courtroom after the first day of jury deliberations.
It's a disgrace. This thing ought to be ended immediately. The judge ought to end it.
The 12 Manhattan jurors, 7 men and 5 women, spent about 5 hours deliberating. No cell phones allowed, but they have access to a laptop containing all the evidence.
It's a pretty extraordinary experience because you have people from all walks of life, all kinds of different diverse backgrounds, who are now charged with making this very important decision. They're also, quite frankly, very aware that the world is watching them.
Before beginning deliberations, Judge Juan Merchan gave jurors strict instructions to set aside any opinions and bias in reaching their verdict. He laid out the 34 counts Trump faces and showed the documents related to the payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels, 11 invoices from Trump's ex-lawyer Michael Cohen, 11 checks, 9 of them signed by Trump, and 12 entries in the Trump Organization's ledger. The presumptive Republican presidential nominee is charged with falsifying business records in order to hide an alleged sexual encounter from the voting public just before the 2016 elections. Trump has denied the encounter took place. Before their day ended, the jurors sent a note to the judge asking to hear the judge's jury instructions read back to them, as well as testimony from two key witnesses. Specifically, they want to hear what former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker and Michael Cohen said about a Trump Tower meeting in August 2015. Pecker says they came to an agreement with Trump himself about a scheme to kill negative stories about him. The judge indicated those passages will be read back to the jury Thursday. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris traveled to Philadelphia for a campaign rally today. They launched a new initiative called Black Voters for Biden-Harris. According to the Biden campaign, the program will partner with various organizations throughout summer to mobilize black voters in key states. It's the latest attempt by Biden to win back support from black voters who are vital to re-election. Governor Greg Gianforte and Senator Steve Daines traveled to Colstrip as concerns over the town's future still persist. The two held a roundtable with community leaders. Those leaders saying they have concerns with a number of proposed rules, including one that would require new emission controls for power plants like Colstrip. Both Daines and Gianforte say they remain committed to pushing back against federal government policies they say threaten the livelihoods of communities like Colstrip.
The bottom line is the Biden administration is pushing these regulations that would kill Colstrip, kill the jobs, and it would destroy the affordable, reliable energy that Colstrip provides for Montana.
This Biden administration's extreme move with the EPA is really a gut punch for our economy, this community, and all the consumers in Montana.
Northwestern Energy has announced plans to take up a larger ownership interest in the Colstrip power plant. That's set to take effect at the end of 2025. A Billings man previously charged with supplying the fentanyl that resulted in an overdose death has been charged again with the same crime. 26-year-old Eric Matthew Castillo pled not guilty this morning to a felony charge of criminal distribution of drugs resulting in death, along with other felony counts. Castillo was taken into custody again after investigators say he was responsible for supplying fentanyl to Ethan Oak. The 23-year-old Oak died of an overdose in October of last year. Castillo was previously charged in February with supplying the fentanyl that caused the death of 22-year-old Caden Winnick in December of 2022. His bond has now been set at $250,000.
Our first weather system today pushed through and brought mainly wind. The second round, pretty good moisture out of that one, as you can see out towards the west end on King Avenue. Right now sitting at 49 degrees, still some sprinkles around as that weather system is moving out of the region. Eastern Montana, we saw up to golf ball sized hail between Baker and Glendive, and strong gusty winds in some cases nearly 70 miles per hour, especially once we start getting over towards the Dakotas. Meanwhile, the current radar is still showing areas of showers and some pockets of heavier rain moving through Treasure County right now, and we'll see more of that start to shift off towards the east throughout the rest of this evening. A change in the forecast again for tomorrow, and then more changes as we get into the weekend. We'll take a look at it all in a few minutes.
One group traveling the nation has landed here in Billings, and from gum wrappers to old bed sheets, they're taking a unique approach on fashion. As our Diane Parker reports, they're hoping to bring awareness on the ever-growing industry and its impact on the environment.
Positively Montana is sponsored by Yellowstone Valley Electric Cooperative.
There's a trash and fashion show on tour from coast to coast, and it's taking trash and turning it into things like this. There's even a documentary in the making about the movement, and it made a stop right here in Montana. Ready to make that change.
Director Clementina Martinez Marsawe is on a mission using film, fashion, and art to bring awareness to the fast fashion industry and its impacts on the climate.
It's not easy. Most people do not understand what we're doing.
In general, what fast fashion is, the overproduction
of garments that are made at a very, very extremely low price. Slow fashion is what it means, slow. The clothing's made with more ethical practices. It's paying their employees. They're using sustainable fabrics, or they're repurposing what already exists.
Let's take it, remake it, let's make it last. From Clementina's home city in San Francisco to Chicago, Pennsylvania, Las Vegas, Boston, New York City, and now Billings, she's filming designers and models as they strike a pose for a better planet. To make that change. 1, 2, 3. Blowing kisses to an audience she hopes buys into the slow fashion movement.
Shop your closet, shop with friends, switch out, like have swapping parties, spot clean your clothes, wash them in cold water, wash your clothes less. The less that these microplastics are released into our waterways, cut back on how much you consume fabric, thrift.
It's a movement she says saves money and the planet, with designers she's documenting across the country who are fully invested in the idea and the imagery it portrays.
This is my gum wrapper dress. It's made from extra gum wrappers. So this is over 300 gum wrappers. And then I went through and I quilted them, and then I lined it so my model would be comfortable.
At the Billings Trash and Show, it's high fives for Mother Earth.
I just made everything I bought the dress from Goodwill, and I just thrifted all of it.
The same applause as Sunrise Montessori students walk the runway in butterflies made from books and trash turned treasure.
For my hat, I took one of those trays and then I took a bowl.
It's not just big cities that are working on sustainable fashion and fighting. It's also some of the smaller towns across the country as well that are involved and that care and are trying to do our part.
In Billings, Diane Parker, MTN News.
Montana's Spelling Bee champ representing the Treasure State at the Scripps Spelling Bee is unfortunately out of the competition. 12-year-old Cheyenne Wang from Missoula competed in the 4th round this morning when the word hormigo tripped her up. Cheyenne spelled the word beginning with a J instead of an H. Despite the exit, an absolutely incredible national journey for Cheyenne and her family. And remember, you can watch the finals live tomorrow starting at 6 p.m. You can watch it free on ION, which is available over the air as well as on most cables, satellite, and streaming providers. SpellingBee.com. Well, still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2. Taking heart health care to the next level. The state's first ever cardiovascular care unit is in Billings. We'll show you next. And the perfect shot, a Hardin boy already shooting towards state success at the age of 14. We'll meet him in just a bit.
The MTN 10 o'clock news continues right after this.